Nominations from the floor shall be called for, and the nomination shall not be closed until at least 30 seconds have passed. Would the nominees please stand as their names are read? For Director from District Number 1, Mr. Roy Cook. For Director from District Number 7, Mr. S.E. Gulch. And for Director from District Number 8, Mr. Milton Whiting. Are there any additional nominations from the floor? We will wait 30 seconds. I'd like to remind you that all registered members can vote for each of the 3 board districts. Please mark your ballot as the nominations are now closed. The ballots will be collected shortly.
It's my duty this morning to introduce the Credentials and Election Committee. As provided by in the bylaws, the Board of Directors appointed the Credentials and Election Committee to count the ballots and to rule upon any questions that may arise relating to member voting and the election of the directors. Will the committee members please stand as your names are called? Joe Pickle, Tammy Deese, Janelle Cerny, Steve Lackey, Mary Ruth Schindler, Pat Mueller, Eugene Janik, Jerome Bennett. Alternate Credentials and Election Committee members are Gerald Sheffield, Virginia Lowry, Bill Applet, James Grywander, Vernon Went, Delrose Hatterman, Johnny Steffick, Janice Mueller, Richard Hayes, and Margaret Sadalik. Please pass your ballots to the inside aisle where they will be collected. The committee has asked for assistance from several co-op employees in collecting the ballots. Will the employees designated to collect the ballots come stand in front of the aisles? That being done, the committee will now retire to count the ballots. We will then proceed with the program and hear that report at the conclusion of the meeting.
Reflecting back on 2010, I would say it was a year of survival with a silver lining for your cooperative. While the local economies in most of the service area struggled to recover, San Bernardino Electric Cooperative held tight. We actually saw growth in new connects, number of services in place, and total kilowatt hours sold. I won't go way out on a limb and say we've rounded the corner, but I will say we might have our finger in the dam, stopping the floodwaters. The growth in new services we experienced was rather unexpected, as we were actually projecting zero growth for this area. In fact, we actually expected a decrease from last year's numbers, which were historical lows. Most of the kilowatt hour sales boost would be attributed to last year's weather. If you'll remember, early last year we had that extended period of time where the cold snap set in and lingered for quite a period of time. This year's winter was colder, but it was of fewer days. During 2010's lengthy winter, our members' kilowatt-hour usage really soared, and coupled with our warmer summer, San Bernard bought more kilowatt-hours than we did in 2009. Early in 2009, San Bernard started scaling back on the contractors that we utilized. In fact, at the end of 2009, San Bernard did not have a single major contractor working for us. In doing that, we asked employees to step up to the plate and do more. They responded, thus helping us bridge the slow time. All this combined to produce an unexpected but pleasant surprise, though. SBEC's margins were more than we budgeted for. In turn, the Board of Directors authorized the cooperative staff to issue a return of capital credits. During the month of December of 2010, we retired over $3 million back to our members. In fact, this was the second year in a row that we were able to return monies back to the members. And this was in the form of capital credit retirements. While the lion's share of the unexpected margins were weather-related, resulting in higher kilowatt-hour sales, some of these margins can be attributed to hard choices made by your cooperative's staff. The staff and employees of SBEC are dedicated individuals working together to provide you with reliable and affordable electricity. I mentioned earlier the bitterly cold weather this winter. It should not be a surprise to anyone that this event affected the generation units which provide electricity to San Bernard Electric Cooperative. In fact, this weather event affected most of the state of Texas and required our area to go into rolling blackouts. A rolling blackout event is where we purposely interrupt our members' electricity for a short period of time. We do this to make sure that the generators still available will not be overloaded and trip offline. When enough generators trip offline, it causes a cascade effect in which every generator will trip offline to protect those units. Should that happen, it would be a minimum of 48 hours at best, and probably a lot more, before the power could be restored. So by conducting rolling blackouts, we are actually trying to stabilize a very serious critical situation. There have been only 3 events of this nature ever. Talking with staff, I found that we went through this process with minimal problems or complaints. Looking back, I can summarize 2010 as staying on course. One thing I do know, whatever the road ahead has for San Bernard, we are prepared to tackle it with the concerns of our membership foremost in all our minds. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman Miller. I do have to go back and clarify an omission I made just a few minutes ago. We were, well, up until this last board meeting, which was this week, we were without an attorney for the co-op. Our previous attorney took another job and moved to Alaska, and so we had to choose a new counsel to represent us. She's upstairs now. It's Dorian Gostisnik from Pattison. I'm sorry I didn't introduce her at the time. And we also have, to bridge the gap, because we didn't have an attorney and we needed one to conduct the business today, I was going to introduce Sean St. Clair from McGinnis Lockridge from Austin. He's come down to help us out today. So I do apologize for not mentioning those folks. You know, my predecessor, John Adams, started something that a few years back, I'm not going to say how long, but a few years back, about carrying on with the video reports. I think it's a very professional way of getting our message across to the folks, and you don't have to listen to me stammer and stutter up here, so that's a good thing. And like I say, John sort of was a trailblazer and this type of activity, as there's, Bert, I don't know, you've got several co-ops that video their reports and for their annual membership. And without much further ado, I think we'll just get to the video and I'll get out of your hair. So thank you.